drivers of the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series make their way to the rolling hills of Michigan, where today we get set for round 3 of electric jumpy truck action. Hello everyone and welcome to the iRacing Esports Network. Welcome to RaceBot TV, where alongside Joshua Lee, my name is Arjuna Kankipati, and we are so excited about where we have landed up, the site of the closest finish in series history, where Josh Fox came out on top by just 0.03 of a second in 2022. Josh, the All-Stars as ever getting ready to get us underway, and they'll bring out the Pro 2 light, of course, with just 400 horsepower and 2-wheel drive as they get ready for the penultimate time to make their way out in this machine.
And this all-star field has been really interesting to watch this season, and a lot of fast drivers from last year coming back, some new names, especially tonight with Nate Stewart, Brendan Lichtenberg joining us again, Adam Briggs joining us, one of the famous names from last year, back with us in 2023, and that schedule going to mimic what we're going to see in the World Championship, but we're not going to mimic those trucks until we get to round 5 at Crandon Short. We still got one more week of the Pro 2 lights at Wild Horse Pass.
Of course, these drivers get 9 rounds in their championship as opposed to the World Championship drivers. We'll get into that in just a few moments' time. Let's talk about our venue tonight. We make our way to Bark River, Michigan, to 1.5 miles of, I think, maybe the most fun that you could have on iRacing, Josh, and it's going to be an interesting challenge for the drivers here today.
I've said before that I love this track, and I still do mean it. It is long. It is one of the longest tracks that we've got on the calendar. However, those tight corners, that hairpin, that berm that they're all going to hit as they sling it into the final corner to come across the finish line. This track is very unique and special, and I'm excited to see what these drivers can do in All-Stars and in the World Championship.
And there's a great view of where the drivers actually run themselves, not just to the green flag, but to the checkered flag as well. Always important for them to make sure that they stay out of trouble to the best of their ability. Qualifying is underway right now for the drivers in the All-Star field. It's, I think, not a surprise to see the red line all 56 of Zachary Drapkin currently at the top of the qualifying standings with a 1:16.747. The question is going to be, are we going to see close times like we saw in round 1 of the championship, where we saw what was at the top 10 split by half a second?
Well, right now, we're not seeing that at all. As you can see, the kind of gradient of times as we've got coming up on the timing tower. Drapkin fastest. Mia Rose, very, very quick time from her 2/10 now. Make that 3/10 behind as Zachary Drapkin improves on his time at the top to a 1:16.612. Great time by the 56 as he works his way back through the first sector after his 2 laps are over and done, or first 2 laps I should say. Everybody gets 5 minutes or 10 laps, whichever comes first, so they'll keep making those quick times across, and Drapkin making a mistake into the grass. Very easy spot to make a mistake, by the way, Arjuna, is in that corner.
I think we're going to see plenty of mistakes here today. Mia Rose already done with qualifying. She sits second, only, 700 in front of this driver, Blake Reynolds, in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine. The number 66 dives through those hairpins at the very end of the lap, where we will see those passing opportunities. So the berm that we saw, that Josh was mentioning earlier, Reynolds not so committed to running out wide, and this is that dice then through into the final corner and up on towards the line. Reynolds with a 1:17.018. Well, he's consistent, 1:17.1, but does not find any improvement.
Reynolds stays third. Nate Stewart done with his laps as well. He's into the pit lane with a 1:17.028 quick time. Trevor Teal still on the track to try and make a couple of laps in 5th. 1:17.436, the fastest for him, but just like that, Arjuna, qualifying's over. We're ready for the first race of the night for the All-Stars.
And as ever, remember, the All-Stars very much set the expectations for us in terms of the racing that we'll see. And while, yes, there's just 14 of them that will get ready to do battle tonight for the All-Stars, 24 trucks, don't forget, do battle when we get ready to go in the World Championship. They're ready to go for the first of 2 races, though, for this iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. Let's run you down through the starting grid, where once again, it's Zachary Drapkin that will lead us to the green in that red line all number 56, but Mia Rose alongside will look to challenge on that initial race start. Blake Reynolds, Nate Stewart, 3rd and 4th with some new colors on that number 75 and some new friends as well. Keenan Kusin and then Trevor Teal make up the rest of the top 6. It'll be Adam Briggs, Leo Mora, Brendan Lichtenberg, and then Mikey Lawrence are your top 10. As we do start 2x2 intentionally this time around is Wes Graham, Luke Canup, who struggled in qualifying, starts back in 12th, Justin Melillo, and then Jim Deschamps that will round out out the 14 All-Stars that will get ready to do battle. And don't forget what an interesting contrast that we have through the field of esports veterans, dirt veterans in the real world as well. But of course, some of the more celebrity guests that come here and have some fun, and we always look forward to seeing them out there on track. Drivers get themselves lined up and ready to go, and just a reminder, if you're joining us for the very first time, you like this type of racing, I think you might be inclined to get behind the wheel of a truck at Bark River. iRacing official action is here this very week, so jump on to iRacing.com where new memberships are 40% off to start your iRacing career. Again, one of the closest championship races that we had last year, Josh, but with two-wheel drive with 400 horsepower. Going to be interesting to see how these drivers get on.
Yeah, honestly, these might be a little bit tougher to kind of get around than the Pro 4s. I mean, yes, they are two-wheel drive, but that lower horsepower, I honestly think it's a little bit tougher to get through these corners because we talk so much about momentum. We talk about digging out of these corners. In the Pro 4s, very easy to do. Pro 2s, a little bit more difficult being two-wheel drive. Pro 2 lights, you not only have less wheel drive on your side, but you have full less horsepower. And who was that just put it into neutral, backed it on up? That was Blake Reynolds, and there's Keenan Kuzin giving a shot back. It
was Nate Stewart that I think actually was the one that reversed his car on the very not straight formation grid where they line up and now pace behind the pace truck. The field will be left in control of Zachary Drapkin. And this is one thing that you were kind of eyeing up before we even went live here, Josh, is the fact that a leader gets to control the start here, and it's an interesting start, that's for sure.
Yeah, and at this track, those drivers can really choose from when the pace truck pulls off onto the start line. Now, any track that doesn't have the restart zones added to the ovals, you're allowed to do that in the sim. There goes the pace truck. It's going to speed off, pull into the pit lane. Now, that entire field is in the hands of Zachary Drapkin. When is he going to hit the loud pedal? In most league competition, it's about right here. So let's see if the 56 is going to hit the loud pedal and get going. He will get the field at least a little bit sped up down the hill.
Well, don't forget, this is not where the start line is, so we've still got a couple of hairpins to go, and we are going to continue to pace for the time being. You've got Luke Canup, one of the drivers to watch from 12, that potentially will try and work on forward. Leo Moore is a race winner in this iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitation already in 2023, and Zachary Drapkin has made race number 1 where he usually lays down the intentions. He's been patient and now finally picks up the throttle. We're racing in the rolling hills of Michigan for the 2023 iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational, and while Zachary Drapkin gets a great jump at the front, look at the fighting behind. 2, almost 3 wide as they cycle over through turn 1, now through into turn 2, that left-hand sweeper where Mia Rose has had to concede to Blake Reynolds. Nate Stewart has held off Aero, but as they work now into that second sector, surely some drivers going to be eyeing up some moves.
Still side by side while the top 6 pull away single file. That's Trevor Teal and Luke Canup that are going side by side. Teal also having Leo Mora. He's been one of the drivers that we've been watching all season long so far in these All-Stars, but at the front, Reynolds up to second, Rose falls to third as there's a little bit of 3 wide. Teal in the middle, Teal making contact with Leo Mora on the inside.
I think Luke Canup's trying to get aggressive in that orange machine as well. Front of the field, though, we see Mia Rose on the outside of Nate Stewart as they battle side by side over the jump. Seems to be the story on this opening lap. Couple more side by side aerial battles behind through the field, but Nate Stewart around the outside will rip third away from Mia Rose as we come to the end of lap number 1, where Zachary Drapkin's already built up a 1.3 second lead.
Rose is going to get that spot back for third, put Stewart back now side by side with Keenan Kuzin as here comes Kuzin to fight for that third spot. He'll go now, he'll fall back between Mia Rose and Nate Stewart. Hard to keep up with what's going on, Arjuna. Things happen so quickly, even in the Pro 2 lights.
Absolutely, and lower horsepower means you sometimes have to be more technical, especially with two-wheel drive. Cannot rely on the car digging into the dirt and getting you out of difficult situations. Still the breakaway building at the front. Let's just remind everyone that the 14 cars get fully inverted for the second race of the evening, so Zachary Drapkin has to work his way through 13 feisty machines if he wants to get double race victories. Look at the sends, though, from behind as Trevor Teal up the inside of Adam Briggs.
Teal going for the spot, and he will get that spot. Briggs falls back. Now Luke Knupp, one of the drivers that we thought Arjuna should have earned a spot in the World Championship, that can be on the World Championship stage. He's now still racing in the All-Stars, but it was him and Drapkin going side by side and battling it out all season long last year. Expecting the same this year as Knupp is on a mission to climb up through the field. Biggest mover so far, up 5 spots.
He's done a really good job as well. Jump on board with Keenan Kusin and just look at the wheel work, because got to be quite quick with the responses to the car, but you also notice that it doesn't look like he's got the wheel set up one-to-one with what he's doing versus what the sim's doing, which sometimes can help you out if you want to try and tailor your driving style a little bit more.
Slings it into the corner off that one small jump there. Of course, you've got the larger jump coming up in the middle sector, but onto this straightaway, go over the whoops, and the Pro 4s, they're going to attack these very quickly over to the left, back over to the right. Make sure you don't get it off track there, especially in qualifying, and here it is, the massive send down immediately into a right-hander. Now the Pro 4s of the World Championship, they are going to sky over that jump, slam the dirt, and immediately have to turn over to the right as we look on board with Mia Rose in third. The battle between Stewart, Kusin, and Knupp continuing for fourth.
So you've still got the train behind, but they are starting to break away in the top 3, and now Knupp's going to be able to get past Aero again as they just continue to cost each other time for the most part. Heroes running well once again after Crandon, a little bit more difficult than the Wild West Motorsports Park was. Leo Mora, Adam Briggs side by side through the penultimate corner. Leo Mora gets forced onto the berm, but somehow whoops it through that section and back into a straight line.
I don't know how he held on to that thing, but he did. And back over the start line for Briggs and Mora as they fight for 8th. It's West MS, Mikey Lawrence rounding out your top 11 with Malillo, Lichtenberg, and DeChamp throughout the entire field, with 14 drivers joining us tonight for the All-Stars as Stewart and Knupp now going to go side by side for 4th.
Still no change around there as they try and close up the 1.5 seconds to Mia Rose. +7 from Knupp. At the very least, we know that he's going to be one to watch in that inverted field, but it doesn't necessarily bode well that you can get stuck at certain points. He's been able to get through some of those cars behind, but now that he gets into some of the quicker drivers, it does become more difficult to find a way through.
And Knupp knows how to get through this field, but he's going to have to deal with, like you said, those faster trucks, and he will get by for 4th. As we sit on board with Stewart, Stewart's going to make contact with the driver in front of Knupp and trying to get by again into the final couple of corners. He'll look to the inside as Knupp rides that outside berm, and contact between Stewart and Kusin.
Kusin getting the elbows out, has been emboldened over the past couple of months where he's had some success in rallycross racing, carries that forward, of course, into these pro trucks as well. But as we've seen in the World Championship, doesn't necessarily mean that just because they race on the dirt, they race the same. Justin Malillo and Brendan Lichtenberg had been having a fun fight, but Lichtenberg's going away. Justin Malillo's trying to get back up to speed.
Lichtenberg continues on, so does Malillo. Of course, quite a bit off the pace, but remember, Arjuna, full field invert heading into race number 2 as Nate Stewart just went around in the grass. He gets back going straight, but I think that was a little bit of contact with Kusin and the rest of the drivers he was racing around with. No, it was just a mistake. I talked about that corner in the open, Arjuna, being a problematic corner, and here's exactly what happened.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the replay and just figure it out. And you could see how committed he was, but sometimes being committed is not always the best idea. Let's ride on board and see the wild ride that Nate Stewart had.
Hits the inside berm, and he tried to keep the power in it. I commend him for trying to keep the power in that one, to power out of it. Everybody knows that when in doubt, throttle out, but that did not help him.
No, absolutely not. Still Drapkin leads as we have well cleared the halfway mark of this 10-minute race. Let's not forget these are timed races, not lap-limited affairs. He continues to run well. Same cannot be said for Justin Malillo. You talk about the danger of the berm. Well, take a look at exactly what it can do, Joshua Lee.
Slammed into those whoops, got cattywampus off of them, and hit that outside berm, and if you use it right, that can slingshot you through and take seconds off of the lap time. Not exactly what Justin Malillo was looking for there, but as of right now, he'll start second place in race number 2.
He's still got potentially Jim Deschamps to fight with, but yeah, I mean, you're fighting to be number one in the second part of the race.
Ooh.
Luke Canutt becomes the next car to go up and over, and he might need a tow back to pit lane because that's not riding itself anytime soon.
Can he go into the sidewall save? He'll get the save. Beautifully done. He just waited for a lot of trucks to get by, so he didn't hit anybody when he was going to get that save from off of 2 wheels. Here's that replay. Touch of the grass to the inside and goes too wide. Yes, he does! And he hits the outside trussing of that jump. If you don't get it through those corners perfect, Arjuna, that's exactly what's going to happen. Just momentum forced him into that trussing.
I think a lot of people don't realize that once you're on the dirt, sometimes you're sliding even in directions that you don't necessarily want to go, just a little bit too wide, and poor Luke Canutt back in 12th position, right where he qualified, all those positions gained. Now for Nort, stacking up behind Adam Briggs, though, in 6th position as one by one. They, like I said, drop like flies. That's what the 4th flip that we've had so far today. So we get ready to approach the penultimate lap of the race. Mikey Lawrence on the back of the 777.
Less than 2 minutes left, and with the 85 all over the back bumper of the 777. Up in front, still 1.5 seconds separating your 2 leaders. As there's another mistake in that corner. Onto the grass goes Briggs. And catching up is Leo Mora. I've been so impressed with Leo Mora in the first 3 rounds, Arjuna. He's always contending with spots at the front.
He's been as well. When he has the opportunity, he's able to break away. I think he just got a unhealthy shoulder there, though, from Nate Stewart, who barges his way on through and forces Leo Mora to do the full 360. I believe that Zachary Drapkin is getting ready to see the white flag, because through the final corner he will come with less than a minute to go in this race, and so 3 seconds clear. The red line, all 56, continues to stretch its legs.
I want to formally apologize to Leo Mora for the commentator's curse, but in my defense, I had to get it out of the way in the All-Stars.
Well, I
We're
mean,
good for the World Championship.
Is it a commentator's curse if another driver crashes someone else out?
Well, in fairness, I was just talking about how impressed I was with him, and then he gets wrecked, so I feel half and half a little bit there.
Yeah, I think I'll give it to you. What I will also say is that for Zachary Drapkin, who has been clear at the front, it's going to be interesting to now see how he races with the rest of the field. Not questioning his racecraft, more just saying now he's enjoyed 8 laps of clean air at Bark River, and now he's going to have to fight his way through. And Luke Canutt showed that there is a point at which you struggle to work your way forward.
Just a couple of seconds left on the clock. They will go on down. Already taking the white flag for Drapkin, and we've mentioned how quick he is at these trucks, and I think the full field invert might knock him down a couple of pegs, but beautifully done. Race number 1 from the 56 Red Line Oil Machine.
Still a couple of corners to go, but the checkered flag already in hand for Barney the Flagman. Another victory to add to the collection for Zachary Drapkin in that red line all number 56. He comes across the line in week number 3 once again to grab the victory. Only 2.7 seconds clear of Blake Reynolds at the line. Mia Rose will grab the final step on the podium, while Aero just edges out Trevor Teal for 4th and 5th positions, and then a bit of a wait before Adam Briggs leads the likes of Mikey Lawrence, Nate Stewart, Wes the Mess, and Leo Mora through the rest of the top 10. The likes of Brendan Lichtenberg still having to contend with Luke Canutt sending it on the final lap.
Canutt trying to go for as many positions as he possibly can, but he's not going to get that last one and sends it over. Was that a little bit of a whip attempt going there for the final one?
I mean, it wasn't a bad attempt either, all things considered. Maybe the place that he landed wasn't optimal, but as Justin Milillo, Jim Deschamps come across the line, that brings a close to the first race of the night. Let's take a look at those race results and just see those gaps ultimately. Red line walls 56, 3 seconds clear as Drapkin gets yet another checkered flag. Blake Reynolds continues that performance on the dirt, where it's been interesting to see his continued speed in that Nitro Circus sim racing machine. Mia Rose 3rd in front of Keenan Kusin and Trevor Teal. Adam Briggs, Mikey Lawrence, Nate Stewart, Wes Graham, and then Leo Mora round out the top 10. Brendan Lichtenberg just in front of Luke Canutt at the end, who found himself out of the track after the checkered flag, but at least in front of Justin Milillo and Jim Deschamps, who will lead us to the green come the start of the second 10-minute race, which is on the other side of about 5 minutes of warm-up for these drivers. They've already raced for 10 minutes, so they should be fairly warm, but I tell you what, Josh, why don't we take the opportunity to try and talk to one of the drivers? I'm trying to see who is standing by and probably able to dial us up for a chat. Why don't you speak with the man, the myth, the legend, the artist formerly known as Mr. Aero HD, Keenan Kusin.
Well, Keenan, race number 1, as we bring you into the broadcast booth here, race number 1 was not the best for you, but you're starting mid-pack again here. What was that race 1 from your perspective?
Tough. I knew Luke was coming through the fields. I didn't know when it was going to be, and seems like I only figured out how to go quick there at the end, so I was like, I'll just let him go, and hopefully they get racy in front of me. Nate and Luke kind of took care of Nate and Luke, but then we kind of just were in the middle of nowhere. I think if we would have got quick a little bit earlier there, we could have had something for me in third place, but it is what it is. We'll see if we can play the invert here. If not, we're just going to go have a good time.
These Pro 2 lights, while they are the starter of the off-road ladder, they are tough to navigate. What's the main challenge of these Pro 2 lights that you're feeling out there on the track as a driver?
Especially after the update, the biggest change is just how much grip they have compared to the Pro 2 and the Pro 4. The Pro 2 and the Pro 4, especially which you guys will see later, you can kind of throw it in the corner a little bit more. Even with the new updated slides a little bit more, because this has so little power, you go to pitch it into a corner and it just bites and goes. So especially in that uphill left, I'm turning in early, hoping the truck will track out wide, and then I can come in again for the second apex, and a lot of times it just hooks. So adjusting to that's been a bit different. I'm gonna have my braking's totally different now. A lot of my line has changed on a lot of these tracks, but it's still fun. It's just something new to get used to.
One more race left tonight. One more round of the Pro 2 lights before we go to the Pro 4s and the All-Stars. Good luck in this next race, Keenan. We're rooting for you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great to talk with Keenan Kusin. We'll swap it over to Trevor Teal, number 72, over with Arjuna Kankipati.
Always good to talk to Pickle Teal, who has not showed up in costume for us today. But Trevor, talk us through that race. Talk us through that race from your perspective, because you were involved in that very interesting fight just inside of that top 5, where a couple of cars ended up flipping. You were pushing so hard. Oh, I think we lost Trevor Teal somewhere through there. I think we got Trevor back again. Trevor, sorry about that. Talk us through what happened there in that mid-pack. A couple of cars ended up flipping.
Yeah, it was crazy. There was cars going we were going one way, and there was cars like flipping the other way. It was crazy.
So, Bark River crazy, but is it the craziest of the 4 tracks that we have this season?
Kind of too early to say. I feel like there's some rounds coming up that are going to get a little wild, especially when we move to the Pro 4s. There's going to be some carnage.
Well, and you are going to have, hopefully, the Land Rush start for the Pro 4 finale at Crandon, so that's going to be quite interesting as well. Second race, what are your expectations, though, as we get ready to go for another 10 minutes for you guys?
Go fast and take chances.
All right, so it's either like you're going to win this race or you're going to flip it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You heard it from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Nitro Circus Sim Racing Zone, Trevor Teal, and that's going to give us a couple of minutes to where we've talked to the drivers, and like I said, Josh, they're in the warm-up session right now. They're working in the track. They are slightly developing it further, and they've all got fixed setups, so they're not necessarily going to be able to adjust the truck to the changes that they may want.
No, but what you can do is take this warm-up and really kind of trying to reevaluate your line, reevaluate what you're going to do on this track. Like Keenan said, if they're used to the Pro 4s, they're used to the Pro 2s, those things with almost double the amount of horsepower that these Pro 2 lights have, you have to reevaluate what you need to do on this track, especially if you do not have a lot of practice laps. That first race might have been the best practice that they're going to get, but take this warm-up to just kind of dial that line right back in.
And in the case of the likes of Nate Stewart, Luke Canup, try and dial in the lines so that they don't flip their trucks up and over and pushing so hard as we get set for what is already the 6th race that we've had in this 2023 iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. It really does fly on by, not far away from reaching the halfway mark. Let's take a look, though, at the starting grid for the second All-Star race of the night. And so with the full invert, it leaves Jim Deschamps to get us underway. He'll have Justin Melillo alongside, who, when he was given the opportunity to break away, took it with both hands. We'll see what Deschamps elects to do. He'll have Canup, though, in third, who will look to fight his way forward from there. Lichtenberg in fourth, then Leo Mora, Wes Graham, fifth and sixth positions. Lining up in seventh, it will be Nate Stewart in the Apex Action Photography Pro 2 Lite, Mikey Lawrence in the 85 Lawrence Equipment Pro 2 alongside with Adam Briggs, Trevor Teal, Keenan Kusin, and then Mia Rose through your top 12 as we get into those podium sitters. And then Blake Reynolds and Zachary Drapkin have it all to do from the very back of the field. Once again, they are sat and getting ready to roll. Command to the truck at the front will pace them. Getting ready to roll in just a few moments' time. If you're just joining us for the first time, don't forget new memberships are 40% off. You can jump on by heading to iRacing.com, where every day is race day, and official iRacing off-road action is here at Bark River over the week. And of course, we've got a ladder that you can now try. These drivers are in that Pro 2 Lite with the 400 horsepower. We've got the Pro 2 with 700 horsepower, but still the two-wheel drive. And of course, the Championship Series drivers play with four-wheel drive and 900 horsepower. It doesn't matter what car you have, though, Josh. When you've got a track as bumpy as this, boy, you better be ready for one technical challenge.
Yeah, it really is technical from when you start in the first sector, that jump, that hard right-hand jump right after the start-finish line, all the way down through the high-speed section into what you're looking at right now, the very quick left, then right, up and over the massive super jump into the third sector. This track requires you to be focused from the moment you start on green flag all the way through until you cross that start-finish line again. It is my favorite of the tracks. I'm sorry to all the Crandon fans out there. I know it's the big house, but Bark River is just so fun, especially if you're on the track going around in behind the wheel.
I think Bark River and Crandon are very similar, right, in that they are the longer tracks. They've got a lot more sweeping corners, but the thing that I think differentiates them fundamentally is just the start. One, you start 10 wide, one, you're 2x2 through the field, and I think I know which one drivers prefer. I know which one I would prefer if I was behind the wheel of one of these trucks, but I think these drivers relieved that I'm up here in the commentary booth alongside with Joshua Lee. Once again, don't forget, pace truck will pull off and away. Field left in control of Deschamps, but we do not technically see the official green flag until we get to the start line. Does not mean that the Nitro Circus sim racing machine could not jump earlier if he wanted to. He will elect to restrain the beasts for the time being, though.
Gonna wait until Barney the Flagman formally flies that green flag, but Jim Deschamps at the front. Remember, he was last place in race number 1. How are these fast drivers going to get through the field, and can they beat Luke Canup?
He's got the least work to do, starting on that second row. Inside of him is Brendan Lichtenberg, but that inside row getting stacked up as we far through those final couple of corners. Green flag back in the air at Bark River, Michigan. It's going to be side by side in through turn number 1. Luke Canup's already got inside of Justin Melillo. In that traction, GG car runs onto the berm, just about holds on. Canup looks to the inside and looks for the race lead, and surely if he's able to break away in the opening couple of corners, the question will not be if he wins, it will be how big is his margin of victory.
Quick work for Canup, but how about the driver sending Jim Deschamps further back? Kusin gets loose. He's off and over into the grass. He'll keep it on all fours, but Nate Stewart's going to power by Leo Mora for second place. We're 3 wide over the jump as Kusin falls all the way down into 10th. Melillo falls to 13th. We're still side by side, still beating and banging over the whoops.
And still 3 wide for the most part. That's West the Mess down low in that white, yellow, and green Pro 2 Lite. He will get past Trevor Teal, Mikey Lawrence as they continue just to squabble. Teal now trying to block the run of Lawrence in that 85 machine as they head off into that final sector. Still with Luke Canup leading, just 2 seconds clear of Nate Stewart, who might be the one driver to try and take the challenge, because Zachary Drapkin, still mired in 11th spot, has gone nowhere.
Over the start finish line again as one driver gets very wild over that last jump as Adam Briggs is towed back into the pit lane. Drapkin and Rose side by side. And how about Luke Canup telling Nate Stewart, Leo Mora, Brendan Lichtenberg, I'll see you guys next week when we go racing again at Wild Horse Pass. I'm just going to walk away with this race 2 victory.
It's already 3 seconds now, the margin at the front. Leo Mora is someone that we've seen in these inverts be able to carry some speed, so let's just keep an eye on how he goes. Let's take a look, though, what happened to poor Keenan Kusin, who we chatted to in the brief break that we had before the second race. And, well, a whoop section is usually designed for a motorcycle, not for a truck.
Yeah, that just always leads to trouble, as getting right back onto the track was Jim DeChamp, and one driver up and over, getting a wheelie off of that berm. That's going to be Wes the Mess to 88. He falls down, Wes Graham to 13th, still side by side as they race up and over the jump. Drapkin gets by DeChamp, but not by a lot.
He's up to 6 now, 9 seconds off of the race leader, still with 7.5 minutes to go. They went 3 wide without a shadow of a doubt once again, and it meant that I think Wes Graham took the worst of the resulting contact. Let's take a look at what happened to him. He had the 72 up the inside, but it was really as DeChamp came from the outside that spooked him a little bit, and then just the bumps catching him out again.
Got some air in that Pro 2 light, slammed it back onto that grass as Melillo goes for a big ride over that first right-hand jump. He made contact with, I believe, Jim DeChamp, that was also having a moment over that jump and ended up almost flipping onto his lid, but he kept it on all fours.
It sounds like potentially the help was from Melillo to keep DeChamp on all fours. Let's take a look at this, because 2x2 in the air is not always ideal, but as they come through turn 1, Justin Melillo launches over another truck and then goes for one hellacious ride. Zachary Drapkin gets the receiving end of the elbows as Trevor Teal leans on him, trying to get to 5th.
Teal's gonna have a nose in that inside. He'll quickly swap it over as they run through the right-hander. Drapkin goes wide. Teal loses out on a bit of momentum. You're on board with that number 72 now, running in 6th. Hug that inside. Get up on that berm. That's what Drapkin's gonna do. Teal tries to do the same thing, but gets loose coming over that second whoop. Here comes Mia Rose to fight for 5th.
Trying to take advantage in this fun little battle that we've got. These drivers were locked in their own little tussles in the first race and have managed to find each other once again. Not yet halfway through, already 3 laps complete in this one. Margin at the front, still only 4 and a bit seconds. DeChamp has finally had a spin, and leaving him, as I'm sure that was bump assisted, by the way, Aero, Justin Melillo, as well as Mikey Lawrence.
Kind of getting back into pockets of 3 here for the moment, Arjuna, as we've got Lichtenberg and Drapkin. Here's another replay of what happened between DeChamp and DeChamp and Lawrence, and Lawrence just didn't lift coming through there, but probably also thought DeChamp was going to be able to gather it up a little bit quicker than he could, and that's one of the reasons these Pro 2 lights are a little bit more difficult, as Teal gives a hip check to Mia Rose.
Yeah, they're going to continue this little fight as Blake Reynolds joins them as well. In that Nitro Circus sim racing car, slots into the middle in that 66. And just watch the body language of the car. And listen to what Keenan Kusin was saying earlier. You can't be as wild in a lot of ways with how you drive these cars. You've got to be a lot more calculated, especially with how much you get the back end hanging out in trying to get the power down. And that's why Reynolds, you see, trying to be a lot tidier, a lot cleaner in the laps coming across the line halfway through.
Still have halfway into this race, and we've got a lot of racing still left, Arjunas. We've mentioned the pockets of battles that we've got going on right now, but none of these pockets are uninteresting to watch at all. We have Lichtenberg and Drapkin, this group of Reynolds, Teal, Rose. You go back to Kusin, Graham, Lawrence, Melillo. They're all running together, trying to catch up to each other. Up and over the jump for this group of 3, and it will be Drapkin pulling away, or Blake Reynolds pulling away. Trevor Teal trying to peek down the inside, can't get there in time.
In front of them, Drapkin and Lichtenberg will go side by side. Drapkin the long way around, but maybe the experience that he has will allow him to set the move up through the next part of the track. Continuing to drop time to those in front. Nate Stewart is coming under fire from Leo Mora, but as Drapkin once again commits the long way around, it switches back to the inside, in through the final sector, and Drapkin's gone from the back to 4th.
all the way up to that berm. Don't go too far, or you're gonna lose that truck. He goes perfect. Now Lichtenberg will be at the edge of the top 5, but here comes that pocket of 3 I was just talking about, with Reynolds, Teal, and Rose in tow, as we look on board with both Rose and Teal fighting in 7th and 8th on the racetrack.
Mia Rose is someone that has so much experience in top-level sim racing in GT cars. This is very, very different. She has been able to find that sort of speed right off the bat at Wild West and continues to be able to try and fight forward. Trevor Teal looks calm as ever, but I'm sure is flustered a little bit underneath, as once again up and over the jump where we saw Luke Canup, Nate Stewart both have some issues earlier on. Mia Rose will get to the inside and try and slide up to 7th.
Door slam to the 72. Teal has the momentum, though. He'll hold it to the inside line. Rose goes wide, trying to arc that corner a little bit better. They went too wide going through that first part of the apex, and now Teal will be back in 7th place. The battle between Reynolds and Lawrence heating up in front, but Teal and Rose are not done as they work their way through the right-hander.
No, absolutely not. And now Brendan Lichtenberg, who's lost out to Reynolds, is going to be dropped into the mix too. He's gone from 4th to 6th so far as Lichtenberg. Has not been easy by any means to pass, but definitely does not have the speed of those up towards the front. And while Luke Canup now, yes, leads by 10 almost full seconds, I think really I'm more curious about whether Zachary Drapkin not just can get up to 3rd, but whether he can grab 2nd as well. Nate Stewart runs, still on that 2nd step of the podium. Leo Mora behind, but Zachary Drapkin hunting them down.
How much time can Drapkin make up in 2 laps is the question. He might be able to catch up to Mora, but Mora and Stewart have been really, really fast. Not Luke Canup fast, obviously, 9.3 seconds that gap, but as we look on board with the 30 of Leo Mora in more ways than one, Mora has been quick, so has Stewart, as you see him going full lock over to the left to get that Pro 2 light to break into the corner.
The Omega Sim Racing machine rises up over the jump. You can see them set up in the entry to the jump as well. Leo Mora has the nose to the inside, is going to try and get Nate Stewart to get out of the groove, but all the while, Zachary Drapkin closes. They'll rub wheels, they'll make contact. Drapkin's chock-a-blocked up behind them on the berm. Stewart holds 2nd, Drapkin gets 3rd.
Drapkin wants those spots, and he can see him right in front of him. Now, Drapkin and Mora battling it out. Opened that door wide open for Drapkin to try and get those spots. Now he's into 3rd. Can he get 2nd? He looked to the inside. Not enough room to get to the inside of Stewart, and Stewart's going to block him off again.
And it is the final lap of the race. They're into the final 1.5 miles, the final 12 turns. They continue to ride 12-odd seconds back of the race leaders, Luke Canup, who continues to stretch his legs and take full advantage of the full invert that we have. Drapkin up the inside, trying to launch it in the air, and he'll get there, but Stewart's not going to give it up without a fight.
Side by side again is Drapkin going to be on the outside going over the whoop section. Can he cut back to the inside? Stewart's going to block him on the apex. They make contact as Canup will come across for the checkered flag. What can Stewart do to hold off Drapkin as Canup's got 2 corners to go?
Luke Canup had a rough race number 1 as much as he showed his speed. He will come across the line, yes, with a damaged race car, but victorious in the iRacing Off-Road All-Star Invitational. The battle runs to the line. Drapkin's got a nose in front. Stewart's got 1 more corner to try and effect a pass, but Zachary Drapkin goes from 14th to 2nd in the space of 10 minutes to get consecutive podiums at Bark River.
Drapkin went for it. He got it. Stewart tried to get it back in the last couple of corners, and it was too little too late for the 3. I think that was Mia Rose. It was going for a massive send off of that first jump.
Well, they're all going to have their own little bits of fun going on right now. We'll just take a look at the aerial look at donuts being done. The eclectic group of All-Stars always know how to put on a show, that's for sure, and very much get us excited for the 24 off-road drivers that will do battle here at Bark River in just a few moments' time. It is Luke Canup, though, that is the winner of race number 2. I mean, we shouldn't be shocked. Drapkin and Canup winning. My, it sounds like we're going back in time to 2022. Here's a look at those race results as Canup 14 seconds clear, even with the contact on the final lap and the final couple of corners. Drapkin and Stewart, final lap saw the swap between them, but also saw Blake Reynolds get up in front of Leo Moore. Trevor Teal grabbed 6th in front of Mia Rose, while Brendan Lichtenberg, Keenan Kusin, and Mikey Lawrence will round out the top 10. Wes Graham, Jim DeChamp, and then Justin Malillo all on the lead lap, while Adam Briggs, after needing a tow back to pit lane, seemingly able to head back out there and at least get a finish on the board. Very fun, as I say, opener to the action here tonight on the iRacing Esports Network, and let's quickly grab a chat, if we can, with both of our race winners, and then maybe see who else in the All-Star camp is getting ready and willing to chat with us. But first up, Joshua Lee is going to talk to race 1 winner, Zachary Drapkin.
Familiar name to win that first race in Zachary Drapkin. And Zach, thank you for joining us in the broadcast booth. You made your way from the back to the front in that second race, but that first race seemed like you were on autopilot in that red line oil number 56. Is that how it felt?
Oh, it definitely was. It was really just trying to go out and run away with it and try to see what we can do and actually try to put laps down and be smooth and consistent. But I was stoked for race 1, and race 2 was even more fun.
You were able to go from 14th to 2nd in that second race there. What was that main challenge? Was it kind of just trying to get through the traffic and really just get that open air, or was it just waiting on drivers in front of you to make those mistakes like we saw with Stewart, Reynolds, and Rose, and you were just kind of able to blow right on by them?
Well, really, I think actually for Bark River, it's more of a waiting game. We kind of waited till about mid-race to start really pushing the passes, because I tucked right behind Teal, and Teal was moving, so we just tucked behind him and raced, and I was stoked for it. We saw an opening, we took it, and then we finally, once I got past Teal, it was go for the front. So I waited to the last lap, and those two started battling. We saw our opening, and Nate ran to be clean. I gave him lots of room, so I was stoked for that. And Luke ran away with it. A couple more laps, hopefully would have done something, but I was stoked for where we're at. 1 and 2 in the night is just awesome.
Congratulations on the first place and the second place double podiums for you tonight in the All-Star Invitational Series, Zach. Go celebrate with the team. Congrats.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
Great to hear from Zachary Drapkin, your race number 1 winner. We'll transition over to race number 2 winner, Luke Knupp. Very familiar names with us in the broadcast booth for the All-Star Invitational. And Luke, first race didn't go your way. Second race very much went your way. I mean, we saw the wreck in race number 1 as well that put you down the order, but could you just not get that clean air that you were looking for in that first race to power your way up through the field?
Well, it's good to talk to you guys again. And no, I hit the berm on my qualifying lap, and it gave me, and so I had a bad qualifying lap. So I had to start from the back in race 1, and I made quick work, and I was up to 4th. And then the pole jumped out in front of me, and I hit it. So that was a bummer, but I knew I had some good speed. I think probably fast lap in that second race, of course. But knew I just had to make quick work of Malillo and Jim, and got right to the front, and then just kind of was having fun. I knew those guys had some work to do in the back, so I was just having fun on a Sunday drive. But lost some points, I think, to those guys in the point standings, the for fun standings. So we're going to have to see what we can do at Wild Horse.
So the story you're going with is that pole just jumped out in front of you there, and you didn't hit it. It jumped out in front of you.
Oh, no, it definitely jumped out in front of me. But still, I haven't practiced in these at all. I've completely switched my mindset into the oval racing. I'm in Road Pro Round 2 now. So now it's kind of just for fun. It's fun to come out here and just hang out with these guys and have some good time with low-stress racing.
Congratulations on your race number 2 victory. Hopefully we'll see you in the rest of the calendar. It was great to talk to you again. Luke, congrats again.
Yeah, thanks. Just want to thank all my sponsors, Luke Knupp Racing, Peak Performance Motorsports, iRacing Funny, Rigid Industries, Red Sim Design, Impact Race Gear, and you guys for putting this on. Thank you.
Great to hear from Luke Knupp, Arjuna again, and Zachary Drapkin, 2 very familiar names to me and everybody else with off-road. But Arjuna, you're standing by with Mia Rose, who ended up, I believe, P5 at the end of that second race.
Looked like an interesting outing at Bark River for you, Mia, and I mentioned it in today's coverage. Someone that is more familiar with being on asphalt in a tin top. What's this 3 weeks been like for you, getting a trial by fire in dirt racing in our All-Star Invitational?
It's been fun. I think last week was pretty average. But yeah, this week was sort of, I wasn't expecting P2 at quali and then P3 in the first race, and I'm like, all right, I got some pace, and then I just could not pass anyone at the second race. So, but it's fun. It's nice driving with all these people who know what to do, because you're like, oh, okay, I can do this. But no, it's fun, exhilarating. And I can't wait for when we get into the Pro 4s later this season.
You alluded to my next question, but it sounds like you're enjoying not being in sweaty esports stuff to talk about it in maybe the Twitter way. But Pro 4, 900 horsepower four-wheel drive, that seems like it'll be a little bit easier to pass, or at least to make sense.
Yeah, it'll be probably a bit easier to probably line it up out of a corner, but I haven't driven it properly yet to find out. But yeah, it could be a truck that'll be very easy to pass, but then very hard to pull away from others. So,
well, thank you for joining us today and joining us for the All-Star Invitational. We'll see you next week as we make our way over to Wild Horse.
Thank you.
Always good to chat with Mia Rose. Let's now have a chat with Justin Melillo. Again, the man to follow no matter where you go on social media for all things iRacing World Championship. Justin, talk us through what happened to you. Couple of different flips at Bark River today.
Yeah, it was it was an adventure for sure. I'm sorry I turned off my camera already. It was I felt like I got this track more than the other tracks that we've been to already this season. I felt a lot more comfortable, but it's such a fine line, and if you just go over just a little bit, you'll end up in trouble. And I think a couple of us found our trucks flipped over at a few points tonight, and me maybe more than others, but it was fun. It was a good time, and I had that one adventure that one time with Jim, and that'll be a memorable moment for sure.
That's going in our blooper reel at the end of the season. Let's talk about next week as we make our way to the shortest track in the season, Wild Horse, over in Arizona. 5 corners there, very different sort of a track to what we've had the last couple of weeks, but more familiar to Wild West.
Sure, it's definitely a smaller version of it, so a little bit more memorable, but because it's a shorter track, it's probably going to lead us to even more of these types of calamities. So it's going to be fun regardless. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the World Championship race tonight as well, seeing how those guys do on this track, this much bigger track than that's going to be next week. So yeah, lots and lots of fun.
Well, as ever, thanks for the time, Justin. But now we've got to make our way to the World Championship. 24 drivers will make their way out to Bark River for round 3 of the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series in 2023. Don't go anywhere on iRacing Esports Network and on RaceSpot TV. We'll be back at Bark River.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
The 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series lands at the site of 2022's closest series finish. 300 split Josh Fox from Tommy Holman when we came here for the very first time. that was not the only defining thing to talk about. The only race where Connor Barry flipped up on over on his run to the championship. Hello everyone, welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network and to RaceSpot TV, where my name is Arjuna Kankipati, delighted as ever to be joined by the one and only Joshua Lee. Josh, we're almost halfway through the campaign. Drivers know who they can trust, who they've got to be a little bit wary of. We've been to almost all of the tracks once, and now we're getting a little bit of a better sense at where the championship is shaking up.
We still have every other track left to go at least one more time, and Wild Horse Pass being 2 more times. But you mentioned it, Arjuna. This track last year was kind of the track that set the stakes for the championship. It's the only race that was kind of an outlier for Connor Barry's season. It was the race that we had our closest finish ever. I'm excited to see what we're going to see for the first trip to Bark River of 2 this year.
And of course it will play host not to the penultimate round of the championship, but instead for the 3rd to last round, which means we still have one of those more bull ring style tracks to go before we head to the big house to crown a champion heading out of Michigan. If you are just joining us for the very first time, we are on the road to $25,000 as drivers compete to try and win $10,000 that goes the way of our series champion. It starts in qualifying. The fastest driver walks away with 5 points, and that builds into the first race where 50 points are on the line for the winner, all the way down to 4 for the final spot. Everyone gets points before we invert the top 8, and we do it again for the second main event of the night. They're fighting as well for the pole award, the green flag award, as well as the CBR hard charger, not just per race, but at the end of the season as well. And so with effectively 2 rounds done but 4 races complete, I mean, it's not a surprise that Keaton Swain and Connor Barry continue to be the talk of the town. Potentially, though, the more interesting thing is who lies behind them. Not necessarily the likes of Josh Edmondson, who we've expected to be one of the stronger drivers in this series, but instead 2 rookies, Jarrett Liebert and Joel Blewett, and then Nicholas Dashalet, who is an emotional winner in this series after coming out on top 7 days ago at Crandon.
I'm impressed with 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but I'm even more impressed with Keaton Swain and Connor Barry 1st and 2nd. Yes, 7 points separate the 2, but take a look at the gap from Swain down to Liebert. That's 22 points. 1 race can put that on its head, but it's still more of a safety blanket than Keaton Swain had to 3rd place last season when he ended up losing out on that championship.
Ultimately, it's a championship that will probably be decided in the final round of the season, at least. That's what we're still really hoping for. Josh, talk us through this Bark River International Raceway as we make our way into the rolling hills of Michigan.
You joined us in the All-Stars. Really, all the problem areas on this track shined through in the All-Stars. This track is long, it's fast, but it's also technical. You can see that all those long straightaways through the first sector, then you hit a massive sky jump, and then you're into the technical left, right, back to the left, back to the right, up on a berm, over whoops. This track has a little bit of everything, and it is going to be a challenge for these off-road world championship drivers to get around, at least get around quickly.
I made sure before we went racing this season, I tried every single one of the tracks and made sure that I understood a little bit of what the dirt refresh was really bringing. Bark River, I will be honest, is maybe the one that I had the most struggles at just because of the technical nature. Trenton Briley currently sits at the top in qualifying, but with plenty of names still to show their fastest time. Drivers are on to their 3rd and final of the qualifying attempts. Here's Keaton Swain in that Sim Coaches number 2. Just a reminder that you'll be able to keep an eye on the championship leader with the red number board on the sides, and then of course on the windshield, red as well, right behind the name. Joel Blewett will once again find some speed in qualifying, but as Keaton Swain comes to the line, it's good enough to jump him to 2nd.
Second by over a 10th, Arjuna. 109.052 from Joel Blewett. What a time to put down in qualifying. But here's the driver we got to watch, the Nitro Circus team number 1 of Connor Barry. He's hungry to get that red plate back. Let's see if he can start off on a good note by grabbing the pole. No, he can't. He will not improve on that second lap. He'll keep the 109.461.
Traditionally, Connor Barry is not as good is a better qualifier than Keaton Swain, excuse me. That does not play out in the timesheets this time by. Tom Grady, one to keep an eye on just because in that number 16 Legion Speed Sport car was racing from a hotel room last week, was just trying to get some points on the board. Participation award, I think is the way that he put it. Now we'll be hoping to fight a little bit more, and in that bright green machine we'll send it through the final couple of the corners. Rafos to 4th, Edmondson to 5th. And for Tom Grady, should be enough for him to get up inside of the top 16.
Quickly down to 17th as Cody Retzlaff is also going to add in a time. Keith Jeffrey's not going to be able to get one in before the clock runs out. And with 5 seconds left in qualifying, Arjuna, that's a field set for our first of 2 races tonight.
And I've got to say, for a driver who told me before the season got underway, Josh, that he was most worried about qualifying nerves, Joel Blewett, the rookie, now in 3 races so far, has grabbed 2 pole positions. We will look at the starting grid in a few moments' time as they get ready to rumble for what's going to be an exciting 11 laps here at the Bark River International Raceway. Joel Blewett once again has conquered those nerves in qualifying, and he will lead us to the green, but alongside him is Keaton Swain, still yet to get to pole position, but he'll be hungry to grab what will be a 5th race victory, a history-breaking 5th career victory. Killian Delomo and Jacob Rafos, the European Rallycross converts, line up on the 2nd row with Josh Edmondson and Trenton Briley in 5th and 6th positions. For Trenton Briley, we're seeing him continue just to get stronger and stronger, more confident as well with each passing race. It's Parker Eslaff that's parked in 7th inside of Connor Parisi, where of course we will see that crucial battle for the top 8 invert in the second 11 laps of the evening. Connor Barry and Jarrett Liebert have some work to do from 9th and 10th positions. Tyson Miller inside of Christopher Plumley on row 6 with Cody Retzlaff 13th. Nicholas Dachelet, a race winner 7 days ago but only qualifying back in 14th. Not being able to back up the pole position. Alex Bergeron, Josh Fox, Tom Grady, Nicholas Wellhouse through the front 9 rows with Crystal King, Quinton Dallomo, Brandon Proudfoot, Justin Kay, and then Keith Jeffrey rounding out the 23 cars. No, Terry Miller for the 2nd consecutive week as the oldest ever competitor in iRacing World Championship history, unfortunately missing from the grid. The drivers are lined up, getting ready to rumble. And if you're just joining us for the very first time, reminder that Pro 4 trucks are at the Bark River International Raceway this week for iRacing official competition. So jump on to iRacing.com today. New memberships are 40% off. Learn a little bit about slinging some dirt. Get your way on towards the virtual checkered flag. Joel Blewett has done it again. But let's go back to the very first race of the season, Joshua Lee, when Joel Blewett got bullied out of a first victory by Keaton Swain.
I'm wondering if we're going to see that exact same thing here tonight, but you have to remember, Keaton Swain is not just racing to get more points on the board, to extend that lead over Connor Barry. He's racing to keep that lead now. He's got to be on defense. That doesn't mean maybe bully somebody out of the way for a win. Maybe that means run consistent, get a consistent top 5. What does it mean for Joel Blewett? Well, he's running for his first ever race win and to knock Keaton Swain off the top step of the podium right now in the points. A lot riding on this front row, and we've got 11 laps to settle the score in race number 1.
Yeah, just a note, that's different from the All-Stars where it was a 10-minute timed race. This is an 11-lap limited affair. Just a reminder as well, even though the pace truck has pulled off and away, we're not going racing until we get into that final corner. How early do you think we're going to see Joel Blewett try and jump here?
When is he going to hit that loud pedal and get started? Remember, we've got 1, 2, 3 more corners left, plus a whoop section. He'll stack up that field, and when he hits that loud pedal, Arjuna, he is going to try and get as far away from Keaton Swain as possible.
It's been an electric start to the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, and now at the home of the closest ever finish in series history, we're racing once again. 20,000 horsepower jump across the line and sling their way through the dirt in the rolling hills of Michigan. Big slide there for Dachelet. He'll lose a whole bunch of momentum, but it is Joel Blewett that converts pole position to the lead. Keaton Swain trying to hunt him down, while Killian Dallomo and Jacob Rafos hold off an angry swarm behind.
Quentin Delolmo got sent into the barriers in the back of the field. They continue on at the front with Blewett, Swain, Delolmo, Rafos, Edmondson, the top 5. Dashley running into a bit of an issue as well as Crystal King gets shoved off the track in the background, but out in front, Blewett holding on to the race lead, and that's important. Look at the red plate number 2 behind it, Keaton Swain, who wants that race lead back.
Consistency wins championships. That is one of those things that veterans understand, and Keaton Swain, who came so close to the championship a year ago, I don't think will necessarily want to get the elbows out too early. He waited until the very final lap over at Wild West to get his way past Joel Blewett. Connor Barry, Connor Parisi, this is inside of the top 10, but just inside of the top 8 invert, where currently Connor Barry sits in a great spot to be flipped around to the pole position for race number 2.
You mentioned consistency wins championships, Arjuna. That's very true in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. Connor Barry, only 2 race wins last season, and he walked away with the championship. This scrap heap in the back of the field, everybody's going to calm themselves down now as a couple of stragglers closer to the back of the field as well. Nobody out of this race yet. Everybody continuing on. Goes to show how tough these Pro 4s can be when the chips go down.
Absolutely. You talk about issues for some. Let's take a look at what happened just recently to Nicholas Dashley. Through that whoop section, gets pinched on the 11 of Brandon Proudfoot, and then further contact as they work through the final corner. Fortunately, does not go up and over, but finds himself stricken and having to take avoiding action around where Barney the flagman is stationed. Lap 1 in the book, still Joe Blewett that leads them with effectively a 13-car train that's building behind them as they work through the whoop section to close lap number 2.
Everybody now single file as they try and reassess what battles they are going to go for. And at the front of this field, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. But how about Jacob Rafos in 4th? He's got Josh Edmondson all over his back bumper, and we know Edmondson is an aggressive driver. He's not going to boot anybody out of the way and say, see you later, you're now wrecked in the grass. He's going to race them clean, but he's going to race them aggressive. What is he going to do to Jacob Rafos as we look on board, VR headset and all of the Nitro Circus number 4.
I think the important thing as well to remember is these are 2 teammates. They're not necessarily going to play too aggressive early in this race. You see the Pimax logo on the front of the car. You see the Pimax headset on the face of Josh Edmondson. Saw that the Pimax social media team liked what they saw, not just with Edmondson sporting Pimax headsets, but with Connor Parisi as well, so they'll be delighted to see that view. Christopher Plumley's lost a bit of ground, and he's down now into unlucky 13th as Edmondson gets involved in that fight. That was the ooh that Josh was giving out.
He got so cattywampus coming off of that jump, and he went off and into the grass, came back onto the racetrack, ran into 2 other drivers. Barry gets by, Briley's going to get by, and Edmondson very quickly now outside of the top 5. He'll recover into 6th, powering past Trenton Briley again, but take a look, he's got teammate Connor Barry up in front. It's 4 versus 1 as they race into turn number 2.
Connor Barry is trying to make sure that he does not bleed points to this man Keaton Swain, who's losing ground to Joel Blewett, who is starting to build up the buffer at the front. 1.3 as it stands halfway through lap 4. Still Killian Delolmo putting the pressure onto our championship leader. You've got the fellow Rallycross convert in the mix as well. They're still brawling behind. Trenton Briley loses out.
Loses a ton of spots coming off of that jump, and he'll lose another as Tyson Miller goes through to 10th. If you take a look at the timing tower, you can see Jarrett Liebert, Tyson Miller, Connor Parisi, all trading positions around P8, and that green line that's there, that means that is the invert. Right now, Jarrett Liebert will be starting on the pole for race number 2, Parker Retzlaff in 2nd, Edmondson in 3rd, and so on. Tyson Miller was not only racing for 8th place and 8th place points, Arjuna, he is racing for a pole position in race number 2, which we have seen track position, especially here at Bark River, when you control the start, is huge.
And let's not forget that there's some deja vu right now to round number 1. Blewett 1, Swain 2, Liebert 8. It's exactly how it stood heading into the final lap of the race. It ended up with Swain winning race 1, Liebert winning race 2. There's plenty of storylines to keep our eye on as Joel Blewett continues to just build up that buffer towards the front. Of course, They're not just fighting for positions in that second race, they're fighting for championship points as well. Always feel like it's an interesting conversation to have. It's Trenton Briley that continues to lose out a second consecutive lap at the same spot that he will lose a couple of spots, and it probably means that we should probably take a look at some of the things that have gone on, including for poor Christopher Plumley, who, in contact with Jarrett Liebert, ends up going for a bit of a roll.
That was a massive roll, but he kept going. He just passed Cody Retzlaff to get back into P11, Arjuna. He was able to rebound really well as we take a look at the 22 of Briley on the outside. Gets covered off over that whoop section, and
this is where a lap ago he lost all those spots, and did he get a slow? I think he got a slowdown because he pulls aside of his own volition. Not necessarily sure it was what happened there. That was definitely Tom Grady going up and over.
Grady gets it back going forward down into P22. That was contact with the man we just talked about, Trenton Briley, that sent him up and into the barrier. As we take a look at that replay, Briley sends it in on Grady, and they make contact in the worst way possible. Briley goes up on two wheels, no control in that number 22 as he unfortunately ships Tom Grady over and into the barrier.
And so it means that we do have at least a couple of cars that will be hoping for some better luck. Trenton Briley just not able to really fire off, you'd have to say, in this first race of the night. Let's take a look on board with two of those drivers up there in the mix. You've got Keaton Swain second, Killian Dalomo third. And much like Joe Blewett up at the front, for the European Killian Dalomo, it's going on 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning for him. And he'll have to finish this, get the adrenaline out of his system, and then wake up for work at 8 o'clock in the morning.
The dedication that a lot of these drivers have to this series is amazing to watch, and it's great to see. And right now, where Killian Dalomo is at is racing for that second spot. Right now in the points, not a lot riding for the 5 of Killian Dalomo. Honestly, he's racing to put some points on the board that he can use to run for the championship. What is Keaton Swain doing? Well, he's trying to play damage control, and even though he is in second, try and cover off as many spots as he can and stay ahead of Connor Berry, who right now is going to have a 6-point difference in leaving this race, putting the total points gap up to 13.
It's a long way to go in the season, though, and as Keaton Swain will know, the only time you need to lead a championship is at the very end. Killian Dalomo, I'm sure, by the way, has a little bit more pressure on his shoulders, given that Altus Esports officially have a world championship in their stable after Jordan Caruso won the 2023 Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup. Some success has gone their way, and now maybe the likes of Dalomo want to try and back that up. A driver that we've seen be able to grab 2 wins in the past, but still searching for some consistency over the course of a championship season. Let's go say hello to some of the fighting, by the way, because Plumley and Parisi through turn number 1 will go door to door.
That'll force Plumley off and into the grass, and Parisi will hold on to 10th. Plumley now going to reset with Cody Retzlaff behind, the other of the Retzlaffs fighting for P11. And there's that whoop section I talked about. Very quick, spits you out into the right hand, into the left-hander, spits you out into the right-hander. Right there is where we saw Luke Knupp make contact with that trussing. Nobody's done that yet, but very easy to do, especially in those smaller or slower and harder to drive Pro 2 lights.
I think this will delight the team over at Pimax, because you get double Pimaxes. One from Christopher Plumley, and then one from Connor Parisi. There's Pimaxes everywhere in the field.
Good handful of drivers using them as Plumley's going to dive it up the inside. He'll force Parisi wide. There's contact made. Parisi on the inside. Does Plumley go for the crossover move? Beautifully done. He will. Over the whoops. He clears both of them. Contact with Parisi. It's going to send Parisi up and over and into the barriers.
And it was seemingly inevitable in many ways because of just how that corner pinches off. And unfortunately, Parisi loses out drastically. Such a veteran of these iRacing World Championships as well. He'll dust himself off and hope for some better luck from hopefully no lower than 14th in the second race. 4 seconds at the front. That's the margin that Joel Blewett continues to build up in the pitch black of night in the UK.
Only can see the RGB of his headset and that wheel, as he will have 2 to go this time by Arjuna, and gotta imagine what he's feeling in terms of nerves right now. He got the pole, second one of the season, wasn't able to win that first one, and now is in the catbird seat to win his first ever World Championship event, and buried to the inside of Jacob Rafos.
There goes the champ. He's finally found his way up to the podium, and this is a fight between teammates. Rafos has not really had any luck this season. Multiple races outside of the top 20, and Connor Barry says, well, I can take the outside, I can use the berm, I can take 4th.
Rafos is going to try and get that spot back, but Barry is looking right out that windshield right in front of him. You're on board with last season's champion, the one of Connor Barry. Trying to chase down the Altus Esports entry of Killian Delomo in front. That number 5 machine is quick. Can Barry get yet another podium and honestly kind of pull it out of nowhere? He started back in 9th, Arjuna. He is up 5 spots from where he begun against some tough competition.
He's not waiting for that invert to give him points. He's like a champion, being decisive, being calculated with the risks that he takes. Not yet onto the final lap of the race. Still one more trip around Bark River in this 5th race of the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. But Joel Blewett at the front. Out of the West Midlands in the UK, the 18-year-old might finally be heading into iRacing World Championship history. Behind Jacob Rafos, not just under pressure now from Connor Barry, Parker Retzlaff wants to work forward too.
I love that camera shot right there, Arjuna, because you can really see how they're using that berm to their advantage to slingshot themselves into that corner. White flag is out from Barney the Flagman, and we look at Parker Retzlaff trying to catch up to Jacob Rafos. At this point, I think the only real passing opportunity he's going to have if Rafos doesn't make a mistake is going to be right off that jump you just saw in the background. He needs to slingshot it off that jump, perfectly transition into the corner, and get to the inside of Rafos. Let's see if Parker Retzlaff, the eNASCAR convert, can do it.
NASCAR convert. I think that's a distinction that sometimes I find hard to draw. A little bit wide there potentially for a couple of the cars as they head in through the final couple of corners on this 11th lap of racing at Bark River. Retzlaff out wide, out of the groove. Going to cost him a little bit of time, a couple of tenths. Killian Delomo still on the hunt as well. But at the front for Joel Blewett, what a story it was. Getting pole position the first time of asking. On the final lap, Keaton Swain rips the victory away, but Joel Blewett is not to be denied. Joel Blewett is an iRacing World Championship winner, the 18-year-old victorious at Bark River.
That looks like relief on his face and a good bit of joy as well. He is a first-time World Championship winner. That one's got to feel good, and he'll start 8th in race number 2. I'm excited to see what else we're going to see from him tonight.
I think we should expect a lot given the way that he was pulling away. Plumley able to beat out Retzlaff and K for 10th position, but it is Jarrett Liebert that's able to get that invert and sit in 8th position at the end of the 11 laps of racing. He'll get ready to lead us to the green. Oh boy, that was a tense 11 laps, and now the drivers get 2 minutes to rest up, get the adrenaline settled for a moment before they do it all again for another 11 laps of racing. Trenton Briley is going to need the assistance of the flatbed to get back to pit lane. We can take a look at the unofficial race results as Joel Blewett 5.5 seconds clear of the championship leader Keaton Swain. It's the first victory of probably many for Team Gold's number 27. We'll track him through the rest of the season. Killian Delomo is able to add a 3rd podium to his collection. Keaton Swain adds a 12th, by the way, just racking them up at this point. Connor Barry up to 4th, Jacob Rafos 5th, while Parker Retzlaff, Josh Edmondson will flip themselves around to be inside the top 4 of our inverted race 2. Jarrett Liebert gets ready to lead us to the green. Tyson Miller just misses out on that invert, but he's in front of his factory SimSport teammate Christopher Plumley, Cody Retzlaff, Justin Kay, Crystal King, Connor Parisi, and then Quintin Dalomo round out your top 15 with plenty of drivers able to work their way on forward after slightly disappointing qualifying performances. Tom Grady is in 16th in front of Josh Fox, who was a winner here the last time we came in 2022, the first time we came, struggling a little bit more for speed in his Williams Esports number 12. Brandon Proudfoot had a bit of a spin, but still 18th for him, in front of Alex Bergeron, in front of Nicholas Wellhouse, and then Nicholas Dachelet, Keith Jeffrey, and Trenton Briley. That's a look through the field of 23 that saw the green, all technically being scored on the leading lap, although, as mentioned, Trenton Browley needed some assistance to end things up. Joe Blewett is now an iRacing World Championship winner. It means that with 29 different starters in the series, Josh, we now have 11 different winners.
Goes to show how competitive and how fast these drivers are in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. But out of race number 1, what did I gather from that race, Arjuna? I gathered that passing is honestly a premium. Yes, we saw a lot of drivers using that bumper to their advantage, using the mistakes other drivers would make, using being the second car as an advantage instead of a disadvantage, and really being on offense. But when a driver would get out in clean air, they would get a solid gap. It was very difficult to reel them back in. Expect your invert pole sitter to use that to their advantage when they race in race number 2 and try and get the lead and keep the lead.
I think we saw Joe Blewett time the start quite nicely as well. Didn't go too early, didn't go too late, and was able to single file himself and Keaton Swain out in pretty short time. Short time for these drivers. Their warm-up comes to an end. They get ready to grid up and do another 11 laps of battling here for the 6th round of the 2023 iRacing Off-Road Championship Series. It's time to run you down through the starting grid. Let's take a look at how they'll be lined up after that inverted top 8. And once again, it's going to be Jarrett Liebert that gets ready to bring us to the green. The last time he did this, he made his way into victory lane, but he's got Josh Edmondson, Parker Retzlaff, as well as Jacob Rafoss, all hungry for success behind. The champ, Connor Barry, was able to carve his way forward. He starts 5th inside of Killian Dalomo, while our 2nd and 1st place drivers in race number 1 find themselves 7th and 8th in race number 2. It's Tyson Miller and then Christopher Plumley, 9th and 10th positions, with Cody Retzlaff, Justin Kay in the Team Rogue and the Team Gold machines behind them. Crystal King was able to work forward. She starts in 13th alongside Connor Parisi, while Quinton Dalomo, Tom Grady, Josh Fox, and then Brandon Proudfoot through your front 9 rows. Alex Bergeron lines up in 19th with Nicholas Wellhouse, Nicholas Dachelet, Keith Jeffrey, and Trenton Browley through the field of 23 trucks that gets ready to do battle once again. The last time we came to Bark River in 2022, it was Felix Roy and Killian Dalomo that walked away winners. When we first came here, Cam Peterson and Josh Fox walked away on top, and that means, with the exception of Joe Blewett, only Killian Dalomo in this field has won at Bark River before. We'll see how things go in the second 11 lap, Josh.
And Killian Dalomo is going to start in 6th, roughly around where he started in that first race as well. Jarrett Liebert on the pole and Josh Edmondson in 2nd. Liebert interests me because we've seen very much the same thing that we have seen from Joel Blewett in the fact that Jarrett Liebert has been very, very quick. Can he beat out an off-road veteran in Josh Edmondson, who I think is as hungry as ever for a race win, Arjuna? In this season, I mean, last year he walked away with 0 race wins. Can Edmondson beat out that man right there, the rookie Jarrett Liebert, to his first ever race win?
And I think the way to think about it, if you are Josh Edmondson as well in some ways, right, as we take a look on board again with that Pimax virtual reality headset, is that he finished 4th last season in terms of points. 6 podiums, 11 top 5, 16 top 10. So only missed out on a top 10 on a handful of occasions, usually when he was being flipped up and around. And it's why we keep talking about the fact that Josh, consistency wins championships.
It's exactly what happened to Connor Barry. It's what's going to crown our champion this season. But as we get ready for this second race, Arjuna, we know Bark River provides the fireworks. I don't think we saw that much in race number 1. What are we going to see here in race number 2?
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot. You can't sit on the fence. Does Jarrett Liebert walk away a winner once again, or does someone behind him find their way into the iRacing history books?
I think that number 4, Ricky Carmichael style on the side of Josh Edmondson's truck is going to give him the good luck. I think he wins his first ever iRacing Off-Road Championship Series race here tonight, but I'm excited to see what Liebert's got up his sleeve to try and beat him with.
Will it be a 12th different winner in series history, or will one of the 11 previous winners be able to extend their margins in the history books? Jarrett Liebert, last time he led us to green, he made his way into iRacing victory lane. Now he's got the field stacked up behind him at Bark River, racing once again, and immediately Edmondson loses out to Parker Retzlaff. Great jump there from the number 26. Killian Dalomo almost goes up and over, but he controls his truck in the air as they now jump up into turn number 2. Rafos on the back of his teammate, who sees Connor Barry trying to slide around the outside into third, but a nice tidy start through the field as we work through the opening sector.
Wasn't much tidy, but around Josh Edmondson, he's still losing out on spots as Rafos bullies his way through. Same thing with Connor Barry. Edmondson down to 5th. He will finally gain a little bit of traction in front of Killian Delamo, but race number 1 winner, Joel Blewett's going for a spot on Keaton Swain. Swain on the inside, a massive wrecking behind him. That's Tom Grady that went up and over. He'll involve another driver. I think that's Quinton Delamo again.
It was in that virtual drivers by TX3 machine, so the green and blue car took avoiding action, will drop towards the back, but now up and over the jump. Blewett able to get inside of Keaton Swain as they work through the first of the switchback hairpins that leads them into that whoop section. No breakaway at the end of the opening lap. Parker Retzlaff goes from 3rd to 1st, has Jarrett Liebert, Connor Barry, Jacob Rafos lined up behind as we cross the line, end of lap number 1.
Slam back onto the dirt, over the jump again. Parker Retzlaff to the race lead and now is looking fully in that rear view mirror right now to try and hold off not only Jarrett Liebert, one of the fastest rookies, he's trying to hold off the last year's champion, Jacob Rafos, who has been insanely quick in anything on the iRacing service, and Josh Edmondson, who I think after that start, Arjuna is going to be even more aggressive if he gets up to this top 4.
Let's go back and take a look at a couple of things that happened on that opening lap. I think it's fair to say, even with the Land Rush start a week ago, this might have been the wildest opening lap this year. Crystal King all by herself flips up and over, had a very good opening round, not going to carry that form forward. Here's Tom Grady already pirouetting in the air, and then just off balance, off kilter as he entered into the corner, gets pitched around from that 29 machine of Justin Kay. Dalomo goes stage left, everyone goes scampering. I think Alex Bergeron ends up flipping as well.
There's that massive hornet's nest, and there goes Grady up and over. Quinton Delamo goes up and over as well. Oh, and there goes Alex Bergeron up and over. Justin Kay also got involved in something, and he is back in P22 as well. So that's the drivers, 3 drivers in the pit lane. Actually, Tom Grady's back onto the racetrack. He is 1 lap down, but he is back on the track, P21. So that leaves us with 20 drivers still on the lead lap, and Parker Retzlaff still in the lead as Blewett will get by Delamo for 6th.
They're starting to be left behind slightly, though. I don't think that's necessarily what they're going to be hoping to see. That margin's building not just between Rafos and Edmondson, but Edmondson and Blewett as well. It's the iRacing colors on the truck of Parker Retzlaff, who I think a lot of people in the camp in Team Rogue thought that he might be the fastest of them. They knew they'd have quick setups courtesy of Jarrett Liebert. They just weren't sure who would be the one to wheel them into victory lane. Liebert was able to convert in the first round of the season, which I think gave him a lot of confidence. Parker Retzlaff still struggling in some ways to get his season underway, but it's a great opportunity here as we do take a look at both of the Team Rogue drivers running 1 and 2.
You can see the focus on both of their faces as both of them, obviously Parker Retzlaff is looking in the rearview mirror seeing Jarrett Liebert, but Jarrett Liebert is looking in the rearview mirror and seeing Connor Barry, who is looking up the inside, who is trying to go for a move. He didn't have enough momentum to make it happen there, but once Connor Barry even thinks he has an opportunity to make a pass, he's going for it.
Connor Barry hasn't won a race this season yet, and I think that's definitely something.
How aggressive is he going to be? How hungry is he?
Definitely something he wants to change, because I was on social media earlier today, and I think he put this one down as the race he wanted to win, not just because he wants a victory, but because of the flip that he had here in the first race we had in 2022, wants to make the wrong right effectively. This is the fight for 7th. Dalomo's in front. You got Swain and Plumley side by side as the championship leaders being bogged down in fighting.
Side by side for a moment, and Swain now is, I mentioned damage control when he was just running in 2nd place, trying to just gain points over Connor Barry, who was running a little bit outside the top 5. Now I really mean it, because Connor Barry's in 3rd, Keaton Swain in 8th. That is 10 points The gap leaving race number 1, I believe Arjuna, was 13. So he's going to be able to gain back 10 points right now on Keaton Swain if Barry stays in third, who is only moving up, and Keaton Swain has Parisi, Plumley, Retzlaff, Fox, very quick drivers behind him who are trying to get by him for 8th.
He looks quite calm right now. That's the typical look on the face of a driver that has, again, not finished outside of the top 10 in series history. Retzlaff's got a bit of a buffer. Open it up to about a second. Liebert increasingly under fire as the champ works on the back of the number 25. And in some ways for Connor Barry, there is urgency to work on forward. However, if Jarrett Liebert holds up the number 1 machine, it could be worse. Connor Barry can still grab second in this race, I guess.
He is going to go for as many positions as he possibly can, especially looking at his timing right now and seeing Keaton Swain in 8th. His team is telling him, go, 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 go. Get as many positions as you can as we look on board with Barry and Liebert as they fight for 2nd place. I mentioned where Barry was trying to set up a pass. He tried to set one up through this whoop section. Does he try and do it again? Get to the inside, try and get a little bit of contact to that door. Just gonna force the 25 to check up even the slightest bit. He can't do it. Liebert's on rails. Connor Barry is trying to be the freight train that forces him off the tracks.
He's hustling that machine right now, just trying to find the purchase underneath, trying to get to the inside quarter panel of that number 25, but it's not going to happen initially. Now he gets the elbows out. He's not just going to sit and wait. Connor Barry gets past Jarrett Liebert, but not easily going to slide on through. Liebert will try and fight it back, and now Barry sets his sights on Parker Retzlaff, just 2 car lengths in front.
What did I tell you, Arjuna? That it happened exactly how I said it was going to happen, and how Barry needed to do it, and Barry's up to 2nd place. Joel Blewett gets by Josh Edmondson for 5th, but Jacob Rafos is still in this race. Parker Retzlaff makes a mistake. Here comes Connor Barry for the race lead.
Not going to get it into the opening corner, but it's the setup as Retzlaff one's ride. Can Barry try now into turn 2 to set something up? It's going to be a fascinating tussle, and you've got one veteran in Connor Barry. Yes, Jacob Rafos has been a part of all the Championship Series races, but maybe doesn't have the same experience overall. Barry carries his momentum around the outside of Liebert to maintain 2nd spot, but as we head towards 4 laps to go, I've got no clue who's got the fastest truck in the top 4.
Liebert almost got that spot back from Connor Barry. Barry almost had that pass on Parker Retzlaff. Rafos is going to mount Jarrett Liebert, trying to go off of the whoop section. He gets it back on all 4. Liebert stays in 3rd. What I was going to mention is Parker Retzlaff, he made a mistake. We saw the gap. It was under 1/10 of a second between himself and Connor Barry, and he powered out of it. He used the clean air. He is now 8/10 in front of last year's champion and maybe have the fastest truck to get this race win. There's still time left to go. We still got 4 laps remaining.
Parker Retzlaff has been inside of the top 10 once this season. It was when he got a podium. It's not to say he hasn't had speed. He's found out exactly what off-road short course racing can tend to be like. 8/10 the margin that Connor Barry has to work. I don't think he'll necessarily be disappointed to collect an 11th podium of his career, but it's very much, I think now, once again, about the battle between Connor Barry and Keaton Swain for the championship. Keep an eye out for Jacob Rafos, who has already dropped behind Joel Blewett. Not sure exactly what's going on there, but Joel Blewett potentially has a shot for another podium.
Blewett's had an amazing run tonight, obviously with that race 1 win, but he's got a long way to go if he wants to catch up to Jarrett Liebert, who's running in that 3rd spot, especially with Liebert all over the back bumper of Barry. He tried to go for the same move that Barry did to him, and he missed out on it. You saw how Barry was kind of drifting through the corner. He had that rear end out. He had it off and over to the side. It looked like Liebert honestly was going straight through that corner, kind of turning like you would any other car, like you would a GT car on a road course. That's not the fastest way to get around this track, and that's why Barry holds on to 2nd place.
And continuing just to bleed the time as well. I think that's the more pertinent thing if you are in the corner of Parker Retzlaff and Jarrett Liebert. I wonder if the teammates are communicating with one another and kind of describing what's going on, because they might be able to slightly coordinate their plans amongst one another. For Connor Barry, the Nitro Circus representative up inside of the top 3, doesn't have any help. You got Joel Blewett in the Team Rogue car 4th, a second Nitro Circus car, yes, in 5th and 6th with Rafos and Edmondson, but a little bit too far behind surely to have any sort of impact at the front of the field. This time it's Barry that seems to be struggling a little bit more. Still trying to hustle the car, loses another half a second to Parker Retzlaff.
It'll be 2 to go when they cross the line. That gap has grown. Retzlaff in all this battling has pulled away. Here's Joel Blewett to join the fight. But Liebert, he hasn't had to pass anybody yet. He's gotten past. He started on the pole here in race number 2. He hasn't had to force somebody off the racing line to get a pass done. Can he do that? Joel Blewett has done it all this race. I honestly think he has the upper hand reaching these faster trucks.
Doesn't have too much damage on his truck either, so hasn't had to use the truck as a battering ram to force cars out of the way. Continues to be calm, cool, and collected. That's important. Again, at 3, 4 in the morning for Blewett over there in the UK. Slightly off kilter as they fly over the jump, but still with 3 cars split by 0.6 of a second, maybe 3 or 4 car lengths between each of those machines. Still Parker Retzlaff maintains the margin at the front as we get ready to see the white flag, the final lap of the race, and Parker Retzlaff slides his way into the final sector.
They'll take the white flag, and for Parker Retzlaff, I mean, I've watched him from his first couple of races in off-road. He really dove into the deep end, and he started driving against these same drivers in league competition that he's facing in the World Championship, and he has been fast since the start, and he's only gotten faster. He's going to try and prove that tonight as the battle for second is still on. Can Joel Blewett go double podium if he gets by Liebert? Liebert's only looking out the windshield to try and get by Connor Barry in the 1.
I don't think Connor Barry's even looking forward at this point. I think recognizes that at least after a slightly more disappointing qualifying performance from a driver that consistently is amongst the fastest in the pressure cooker of a qualifying session, he'll be content to grab the points and potentially just keep himself within touching distance of Keaton Swain, still mired down in that 8th position. Parker Retzlaff, he's got a couple more corners to go. He's got to avoid the whoop section, the wall, some of the tricky stuff that we've still got to see, but looks good. 2.5 seconds clear now.
Through the last 2 corners, Liebert and Barry still fighting. Edmondson and Killian DeLolmo fighting for 6th. Liebert's gonna get by Barry for 2nd place. That's huge in the points.
We'll take a look at that in a moment, but for Parker Retzlaff, the eNASCAR, the NASCAR crossover, comes out on top in the dirt. Parker Retzlaff is a winner in the iRacing Off-Road Championship Series, and it's a Team Rogue 1 and 2, with Jarrett Liebert able to pip Connor Barry at the very final quarter of the race.
Arjuna, this replay is going to be incredible to watch, because what did Liebert do? He just sent it. He didn't wreck Connor Barry. He used the front end of his car, moved the 1 out of the way, and got that 2nd place spot. I said it was huge in the points because where Swain and Barry were on the track there at the before the checkered flag flew, it was going to be a 1-point gap in the points. Now we're looking at 3 points worth of a gap because Barry lost that spot again.
So we'll take a look at it as Parker Retzlaff just sits there and continues to ride. This is, I think, what actually happened after all of that. We'll get the replay up in a few moments' time. What a race. Bark River delivers once again. Let's take a look at those race results. So Parker Retzlaff grabs the victory and starting to build the form. He's 2.5 seconds clear of Jarrett Liebert in the Team Rogue 1 and 2. Connor Barry 3rd as the champ continues just to accumulate those points. Got Joel Blewett, Jacob Rafos, Killian Delhomme through your top 6 as those Rallycross converts continue to rack up some points. Josh Edmondson, Keaton Swain, 7th and 8th with the championship leader, unable to make any headway in race number 2. Connor Parisi, Cody Retzlaff through your top 10, while down in 11th spot, Christopher Plumley, Quinton Del Lomo, Josh Fox, Trenton Browley, and Nicholas Wellhouse all found themselves in a bit of a battle on their way to the line. They were separated by almost 4 seconds then to Tyson Miller in one of the factory SimSport machines, who finished 3 seconds clear of Brandon Proudfoot, with Keith Jeffrey, Crystal King, and Nicholas Dashley not too far behind. They were all on the lead lap, unlike Tom Grady, unlike Justin Kay, and unlike Alex Bergeron, who finished 11 laps down on the field. So a look at those race results, and now we can hopefully get the chance to chat with Parker Retzlaff, an iRacing World Championship winner. Parker, it's been a difficult start to the season in some ways, but I think the podium last week showed the form, and now you showed from green flag to checkered the speed that you carry.
This week, I started I think 8th in that first race, and I felt like I had a ton of speed, and I just couldn't go anywhere. And then in this race, I feel like the truck changed so much for me. I don't know if I just drove differently or if the track changed completely, but I did not feel comfortable at all. I was, I was just making a lot of mistakes. I got 2 different slowdown penalties that I thought made me lose the race, and I just kind of did everything I could to try and throw it away. But I'm just happy that me and Team Broken Fish won too with me and Jarrett, and I just appreciate everything he does for our whole team and all the setups he does, and everyone who supports me, especially Funkaway and all they do for me.
Let's talk about how you have to balance all the different commitments that you have in the world of racing, because you're not just here with us, of course. You're competing in eNASCAR, you're competing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. How do you manage to balance all of these commitments and the travel that you must have?
Yeah, I mean, actually tonight I just got back from doing some simulator stuff. I didn't get back until the session started up, so I didn't have any laps coming into it, and I didn't feel like I was as prepared as I probably should have been, but it all ended goodly, it ended good, and I'm just going to keep trying to build on in points. I'm trying to catch back up from finishing 24th and 23rd the first 2 rounds of the season, so I think we're doing that, and I think we're going to continue to get better.
Congratulations on your first of hopefully many iRacing World Championship victories, Parker, and we'll see you in a week's time over at Wild Horse.
Thank you.
Always good to chat with a race winner, a smile on his face as well. We'll grab a chat with someone who was victorious earlier on in the night, but I'm going to ask him first about qualifying, because Joel, you told me that the one thing you were worried about coming into this season was qualifying nerves. That's 2 pole positions in 3 rounds now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still nervous. I was shaking throughout the entire lap, and all before, for at least 15 minutes, I was saying in Discord how nervous I was. But yeah, I messed up my first lap. I got a contact on the wall ride, but on the second lap I hit it, and it was it was overall a decent lap, so we got the pole.
And then, this time, you actually were able to break away from Keaton Swain, so he wasn't able to bump you out of a victory. We saw the smile across the line. Talk to us about what that meant.
Yeah, I mean, this is my favourite track, as I told you earlier on in the season, and I put quite a lot of time into the car this week, especially working on the long run speed. I wasn't too confident on the long run going into this race, but once I saw on lap 2 how tight Keaton was, I knew I was going to be able to drive away, which it felt really good by the end.
Well, congratulations on another superb performance. You're going to have to back this up in qualifying. I'm just saying, for the rest of the season. We'll see you in a week's time over at Wild Horse.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone on Team Gold Esports for working on the setup with me, and everyone on Nexus as well, especially Hudson, for all the motivation and everything else he's done for me.
Joel Blewett, a iRacing World Championship winner, and we'll have a quick chat with Jarrett Liebert, who had to get the elbows out on the final lap of the race to get past Connor Barry. We're taking a look at that move now, Jarrett. Team Rogue 1 and 2, you must have a big smile on your face.
Yeah, that was a tough race. Crandon and Wild West, I was able to really get comfortable with those tracks, but here, I'll be honest, my entire team knows I didn't feel comfortable at all for this race, which I felt like this had been my best track in the past, and I just never felt comfortable. Messed up a lot in Q. Overall, it was just a really rough race, but to be honest, I made the most of it, and the pass on last lap was something. I didn't like how Connor had raced me earlier on, and the hole opened, and I saw Joel sending it. So if I didn't send it, Joel was going to get to my inside, and I was going to lose third. So I kind of was in a spot where I had to a little bit. But you can't fault Joel. Like, at the end of the day, that's points. We're all 4, like, quite a ways away from the rest. Like, that spot matters. And I respect Joel, and congrats to him on his race win in race 1. I'm really happy for him.
So, it sounds like there's some tension brewing, but I think that's been the story of the first 2 weeks of this championship overall. I do kind of want to touch on the fact that you say you weren't comfortable coming into this one. You were able to build a setup that enabled Parker Retzlaff to come in with no practice and make his way to victory lane. What was the key to the truck that you guys brought tonight?
Parker's always been really fast at Barker River, but for the most of like our set, we kind of carry Bark River and Crane a little bit together. Like, there's always a few things like shocks, gear, other, notable things that you have to change. But for the most part, I felt like we were really, really fast at Crane and had more turn than most of the field. So I knew if I could keep track position at the end of the race, I had more turn than the rest of the field once everybody's tires wore and we got really tight. And I felt like, even coming from the NASCAR side, I could keep tires on a little bit better than most. And overall, the setup accompanied with it, like Parker after race 1, I moved into his channel and told him, like, I felt really, really good at the end. Like, I felt like, driver-wise, I told Vicente, my spotter, middle of the race, I don't feel comfortable, but I'm running them down. Like, I know I got speed, I'm just not comfortable doing it. So, I think at the end of the day, setup was there, and I just need to get better as a driver at Park River.
Well, we're almost halfway through the season, so you must be feeling somewhat confident in the pace that you brought, sitting up there in the championship. Congratulations on another great run. Can't wait to see you in a week's time over in Arizona.
Thank you. I got to thank everybody at Team Rogue before I leave. Vicente, Parker, Cody, Dennis, Nick, Steve, who's a new addition that Dennis and Nick are really good friends with, and everybody on the NASCAR side, Dead Zone, Houston, Dustin, Dylan, Graham, like everybody over there. Everybody that supports me.
Jarrett Liebert rounding out a successful day for Team Rogue, a 1 and 2 in a second race of the evening. That is 6 races done. Still have 10 more to go, yes. And next up, it's a trip to the shortest track this season, the Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. Say that one 5 times fast. July the 19th, 8:10 p.m. Eastern. We head to 0.7 miles to 5 corners of Bull Ring Racing.
It's fast, it's unpredictable, it is going to be an exciting race, and I mentioned quick, it's 4 corners. You're not going to stretch your legs out on this track. It is 4 corners, right into jumps, right into another corner, right into a whoop section. It's exciting, and we are going to see really the turning point of the championship, I think, Arjuna. It's round 4, the last of the first-time tracks that we are going to visit, and I'm excited to get it going, especially with how the points have gone so far tonight, and that points gap shrinking between Barry and Swain. And
of course, it all builds to the end of the first half of the season and into a non-points week on July the 26th when we go all-star racing, break out those Pro 2s, remember 700 horsepower two-wheel drive, and return to Crandon, albeit with the short configuration. That is going to be a lot of fun. But for now, it is time to bid you farewell. It's been an interesting day behind the scenes for us at RaceBot TV, but delighted to have your company here on the iRacing Esports Network in the rolling hills of Michigan. The busy action on the iRacing Esports Network will continue to rumble on. You've got open wheel action, dirt trucks, and then of course the late model series on Monday night. So much different things to keep an eye on in the world of iRacing World Championships. For Joshua Lee alongside with myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us here today. We'll see you in a week's time over at the Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park to hit the halfway mark of 2023.